what you're looking at is a pile of perlite, and if you look closely here, you're going to see the nice roots that are developing there. And this is a cutting of miracle fruit. Now this cutting took 3 months to actually develop the roots, and today is June 6th. So I literally started this 3 months ago and used just a little bit of Hormidin 3, which is a rooting hormone. I used hormone number 3, and the important thing to make this work is that you do it during the warmer time of the year, not in the winter, unless you have a very nice greenhouse that you can keep nice and warm. But in this case, it's also important to have some type of humidity chamber, or what's also known as a mist house. Now, a lot of people think you have to have an absolute professional mist house in order to root cuttings, and you don't. What you need is just a little bit of ingenuity and some basic, very, very basic tools. One of those tools is a simple container like this one. And you can see in this container, and I literally clean it out every day, every 2 days, sometimes every 3 days, because it does get, after a while, a little bit of algae in there. And the algae that gets in there, can lead to a lot of green, slimy stuff. And if the humidity is too high, then you end up with too much water and too much problems with the soil. Now, notice that in this case here, I'm using the perlite, and it's 100% perlite, and it was in a little pot like this, just a little pot like this. And then I kept it inside the humidity chamber or plastic container with the lid on, and then I have a couple of holes in the lid, and this is under a area of the yard where I have some shade trees above, but it's filtered. The light is pretty filtered, so it gets pretty bright, but then again, it's not intense light. You can have intense light, it's okay, but the thing is that because of the temperature and the water, it gets too hot and there's not enough humidity, then you're going to have a problem. So I kind of have my setup figured out, and it's a very simple setup, but it might take a little bit of experimentation on your part if you try this at home, or out in the yard, I should say. Now, you're going to notice the soil that's in these containers is totally different than the perlite. And this is called Pro Mix. Okay, this is a very, very good potting soil. And if you look here, this is the one I'm focusing on right here. You see some new growth right there. And this is actually a cacao cutting. And I'll show you one later. They actually root, but they take forever. So far for me, they've taken as long as 6 months. And if you look, there's more miracle fruit here. These are also miracle fruit, but they're not in perlite. This time I wanted to try it in some regular Pro Mix potting soil. And that soil's pretty wet, pretty darn wet. So I'm not too sure if these are going to do as well. They may not even root 3 months from now. I don't know. We'll see. And in the back here, I have that's Ruby Supreme Guava. Those are cuttings of Ruby Supreme Guava. And I've done this before, but I've done the cuttings a little bit longer. So over here, these are the Ruby Supreme cuttings. These are the ones that we're looking at right there. Those are the Ruby Supreme cuttings. And this one is Grumichama. They actually grow very well from cuttings, and they work great. Even in the Pro Mix, they do terrific. What I'm going to begin doing is I'm going to begin propagating without the Pro Mix, because I'm actually finding that for some of these more difficult to root plants, this perlite works amazing. Works really, really, really well. There are many plants you can grow from cuttings, and in a future video I will actually demonstrate the entire process of how you take the cutting and how you get them to root. But I think that by having watched this video, you've probably got a heck of a lot more information on how this is done. And the key to it is, like I said, some type of a humidity container, chamber. One other important point is that these lids, when they go on, they have a couple of holes drilled in the top, and there are holes drilled also in the bottom of these containers because I want to control the humidity. And if I get heavy rain for a couple of days, what happens is that because the holes that are in the top and because of the overall high humidity, I get a lot of water in the container, and then my medium gets absolutely too wet, so that's not good. Again, there's going to be some successes here and there's going to be some failures because obviously, you can see there's a big difference between what happens with cuttings and using ProMix or soil versus using the Perlite. So, Perlite is going to work for your much more difficult to root cuttings. And part of the reason for that is because there's a lot more air transfer between the roots, the water, and the medium, the Perlite. It's very coarse material, so there's lots of air so that you have no rotting of the roots, and it actually promotes the roots to develop. So that is basically in a nutshell what's going on with rooting miracle fruit, and as you can see some other ones. Now here's interesting. This is something that's been going on for 3 months, and this is an Ilama. This is in the Annona family, and this is a little cutting of Ilama, and literally it's 3 months and nothing. And this guy was also in that little pot with the Perlite. Look at how beautiful it looks, but there's no life to it in terms of any rooting. And we use rooting hormone and everything, and I use the Perlite, and I've had this going on now for, like I said, 3 months, and I had just broken off a little while ago, about an inch, maybe inch and a half length of wood from the base here that was literally rotted. The wood was rotted, but you can see that the plant is still technically green, and who knows? Maybe this will take 6 months. Maybe it requires more heat. Now, typically, you don't hear about people growing Ilama from cuttings. There's a lot of things that can be grown from cuttings, but you know what? You don't know if you don't try. So with that said, I thank you all. I will do another update video soon with a little bit more specifics on how this is done. And if you liked the video, again, I apologize for the sound maybe. I don't know how good this is going to sound. I apologize for some of the noise that's going on with the cars going by. But like I said, I think you've found this video valuable. And if you have, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And I promise you that we'll get you a whole bunch of videos out real soon. It's been kind of crazy with the way the world is right now. A lot of nonsense going on. Anyway, don't want to get into that topic. Stay safe, everybody, and keep growing. Thanks again. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Take care.